Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, it's time to take a look at Musharna. And Musharna is a Pokemon that really is all about sleep. And sleeping. Not unlike myself when I get a moment. And I'm sure many of you listening. And it probably won't surprise you to learn that Musharna is all about sleeping. Although, as a side note, check out the awesome artwork on the Musharna card. Why has no one ever crocheted me a mana? I would love a crocheted mana. Just putting that out there. So Musharna then. We got 120 HP, which is fine for a stage 1. Lower than stuff like Naganadel, but not too bad. We've got a retreat cost of 3, which is just low enough that you can't use things like buff padding and Pokemaniac, which is kind of annoying. We have a weakness to darkness nowadays. Remember that that's changed. Although, to be fair, it's not a terrible weakness except for Hooper. Hooper is going to be a problem. And you got a resistance to fighting, and it is a minus 30 resistance now. So, you know, having a resistance is quite nice. Also, being a psychic Pokemon's quite nice. It means you're hitting weakness against stuff like Mewtwo and Mew. Although remember, anything with a psychic weakness can turn off that psychic weakness using Jirachi. But then your opponent's got 160 HP Pokemon sitting on the bench that you can grab active with Great Catcher. So, you know, just putting that out there. Then, of course, you've also got Mysterious Treasure. Mysterious Treasure is great for searching out your psychic Pokemon. And let's not forget, you've always got the benefit of Spell Tag. So that's quite nice for dropping some extra damage counters when you are KO'd. Point being, it's quite a nice time to be a psychic Pokemon right now. You've got some extra options and love. But Musharna then, what does it do? Well, the first attack for a single colourless energy, that's pretty cheap. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. Your opponent flips 2 coins instead of 1 between turns. If either of them is tails, that Pokemon is still asleep. That's kind of cool. I like this a lot. Now, several of you listening have probably already gone, well, hang on a second. Isn't that Slumbering Forest? Yes. Yes, it is. But there are several differences. Slumbering Forest, if a Pokemon is asleep, its owner flips 2 coins instead of 1 for that special condition between turns. If either of them is tails, that Pokemon is still asleep. But there are a bunch of differences. Firstly, Musharna only works for your opponent, not for you, so your Pokemon can still wake up more easily. Secondly, Slumbering Forest is a stadium. And we're in a format at the moment where a lot of stadiums are being played. A lot of stadiums. Pretty much every deck plays multiple stadiums. Not only that, but there are a bunch of people out there that are literally just playing Chaotic Swell, which of course is the ultimate counter stadium. You put Chaotic Swell down, and then if your opponent plays a stadium, that stadium just gets bounced immediately without doing anything. Like, for instance, Slumbering Forest. So make no mistake about it, Slumbering Forest is not an ideal perfect situation. Musharna works quite nicely. And really the goal here is just to hurt your opponent. To get your opponent to a position where they can't actually do anything. No, you're not doing any damage with the attack, and that's slightly upsetting. But you're not aiming to do any damage with the attack right now. What you're aiming to do is buy yourself a bit of time. And the real question here is, can your opponent switch out of the active? Because that's what it really comes down to, right? Time was we'd all be playing Ace Roller and we'd all be playing Guzma, and strategies like this just wouldn't work. Well, we're not anymore. We ain't playing those strategies. We are playing Mallow and Lana, but Mallow and Lana is a 1 or 2 of in a bunch of decks, rather than Guzma and Ace Roller, that between them, you could realistically expect probably on average 6 per deck. Maybe slightly lower, but you would expect a lot of Ace Roller and Guzma combined in a deck. So it's a lot better with Mallow and Lana. Now, one of the things we've got to watch, of course, is that Escape Board will allow retreating even when asleep. It's the only way to do it in terms of retreating. And any deck playing Jirachi, and there are a bunch of them, will be playing a skateboard because, of course, they will need to retreat. Jirachi out the active, and Jirachi will be asleep, so they will be playing a skateboard. However, if you're not playing a skateboard nowadays, or if you don't need to play it, I should say, you got U-turn board. U-turn board, like a skateboard, reduces your retreat cost by 1, but it flicks to your hand when discarded. From play, not from your hand. So what that means is that you can play, say, 2 of these in your deck and probably get 4 to 6 uses out of it if you need to. And we're just getting Balloon in Sword and Shield as well, and that means that your retreat cost is lowered by 2. Again, a better option. So yes, some people will be playing a skateboard, some people will be playing Mallow and Lana, but everybody else has a 25% chance of waking up. And if they don't wake up, you're buying time to evolve your Pokemon, you're buying time to attach energy, you're getting time to build up a strategy. But come on, Musharna, do a bit of work, would you? Do a bit of damage, yes. 1 Psychic, 1 Colourless Energy, Hypnoblast. 10 damage base, not excited. If your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep, this attack does 130 damage. Oh. Yeah, that's quite a bit better, ladies and gentlemen. That is quite a bit better. There is a big difference between 10 and 130. And 130 is good. Now, full disclosure here, you're 10 damage short of a Mewtwo and Mew. Mewtwo and Mew has 270 HP. You're hitting 130. Double with weakness is 260. You will be 10 damage short, which is upsetting. But then again, we've got, I don't know, Shrine of Punishment will put the 10 damage on there. Or we've got that new Galarian Zigzagoon that will drop a damage counter when you play it to the bench. Or we've got that new Vitality Band tool, which will allow you to do an extra 10 damage from all of your Pokemon. So frankly, ladies and gentlemen, we are not terribly worried about having to do that extra 10 damage. If you really want to do the extra 10 damage, you're going to be able to do the extra 10 damage. You're not going to be at a huge loss here. So that's quite nice. And if you're hitting for weakness, this is a beautiful attack. Something like Mewtwo and Mew will go down easily. And like I've said, maybe your opponent is playing Jirachi. But the thing is, we're now in a wonderful situation where we've got Great Catcher. So anybody that is genuinely worried about their opponent playing Jirachi, all you have to do is just play a couple of Great Catcher in your deck, and then something that can hit for 160 damage, and now all of a sudden you're actually getting an easy one-hit KO on them. Like an easy one-hit KO. And that's giving you 2 prizes. And then after that, you can always start going after the Mewtwo and Mew or things like that. And we've got a bunch of other Pokemon that have a psychic weakness at see play at the moment. We've got things like Espeon and Deoxys that are great GX attack that can drop 20 damage counters, or Latios GX, which gets immune to tag teams the following turn. Now, the one thing we do need to mention is that this will be worse going forward. So if we look at something like Marshadow and Machamp, hang on a second, that's also weak to Psychic. So essentially at the moment, as a Psychic Pokemon, you're hitting weakness on the majority of Psychic Pokemon. Ones that are initially Ghost type, like Giratina and Mismagius, no, but your general Psychic types you are. And fighting types. Although again, there will be kind of rock and ground Pokemon, think things like Regirock, that again, you won't be hitting weakness on. But most of them you will. But if we look at, say, Indeedee V, we can see that unfortunately, Psychic Pokemon, indeed, like we've seen with Musharna, they're getting a darkness weakness. So you're going to be hitting weakness on a lot less moving forward. But the fact of the matter is, Musharna can do quite a lot of fun stuff. Either it can buy you a turn. Buying yourself a turn is good. In fact, it could buy you multiple turns. Or you could just sit there doing 130. And the other thing to point out here is that you don't have to one-hit everything. Remember, there is a 3 in 4 chance your opponent's Pokemon stays asleep. Which means that you can just keep hitting them. Like, you hit 130 now, but then next turn, they're still asleep, so you hit them again. And then the following turn, they're still asleep, so you hit them again. So either you're buying time or you're hitting them. And the fact of the matter is, 130 if you're not hitting for weakness isn't quite as high as we'd like. But then again, if your opponent can't wake up, you're essentially KOing anything. And even if you get KO'd right back, you take 2 or 3 prizes, they take 1. That's going in your favour. There'll be some decks out there, like I say, playing a skateboard or lots of Mallow and Lana. But remember, even if they're playing 1 or 2 Mallow and Lana, that gives them 1 or 2 chances to get out of your sleep. But that's not going to last forever. And then you can just put them right back to sleep again. I like Musharna. I'm giving it 3 Wassies. I think this is the kind of Pokemon that people are not going to be prepared for, and then someone's going to come out and they're just going to put their opponent to sleep for like 17 turns in a row, and that's going to be annoying. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, and then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and switch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't actually have Pokemon in, but are actually awesome. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.